Hello friends, I welcome all of you to your own YouTube channel, World of Trade and Finance. So friends, in this video, we'll try to understand what is a credit card. So friends, whenever we have a savings account or a current account with any bank, that bank generally issues us with a card which is called as a debit card. So if you go to any ATM using that debit card, you can only swipe or withdraw the limit that is there in your bank account. So for example, if you have 25,000 rupees in your bank account, you can only withdraw a maximum of 25,000 rupees from any ATM. However, there's another tool which is based on your credit score, your income, and a lot of other factors which banks provide, which is called as a credit card. This credit card has a certain limit which you can use and repay and then use it again. So friends, how do you get a credit card? So applying for a credit card is pretty simple. It's just like applying for a loan. So you approach a bank where you have your savings account. Now you could approach a bank where you have your account, or you may also approach a bank where you don't have an account, but you wish to have the credit card of that particular bank. So you apply for a credit card application. That bank accesses your application and based on application looks at your credit score, looks at your income, looks at the bank statement because it wants to verify whether that income is actually getting credited to your account or not, looks at your address proof, looks at your KYC documents, and based on that, your application gets approved and the credit card gets issued. So friends, now let's try to understand the credit card numbering and features. So if you look at a credit card typically the number is from 13 to 19 digits. Even though in India, mostly you'll find credit card with 16 digits, but normally it is from 13 to 19 digits. If you look at the first digit of your credit card, that first digit is called as MII or Major Industry Identifier. So there are certain numbers issued for different sectors. For example, for airlines, it is 1. For finance, it is 4 or 5. So if you look at your MasterCard credit card, then the MasterCard credit card would typically start from number 5. The first digit in a Visa credit card would be 4, and the first digit in an American Express credit card would be 3. So the first digit is called as a major industry identifier. The next 5 digits, friends, is called as an issuer identification number IIN or bank identification number BIN. These 5 digits are basically give the details of the bank that has issued the credit card, including the network of that bank. The next 7 to 9 digits is the card's individual account number. And the last digit is basically the checksum, or this number is used to actually check the validity of the card. So typically the card would have 13 to 19 digits. If you look at the back side of the card, there's generally a number which is either 3 digits or 4 digits depending upon which card it is, which is called as a CVV or a card verification value. So this CVV number is needed if you are trying to make a remote transaction. So when we say a remote transaction, we are not approaching the ATM, we are not swiping it on a POS machine, we are maybe trying to do an online shopping on some website, and whenever you're trying to use that card remotely, not by swiping on a machine, then you need this number which is called as a CVV, which only after entering the correct CVV would the transaction be authenticated. So friends, now let's look at the credit card features. Let's look at the typical terms and conditions that we hear about a credit card. So the first is called an APR or an annual percentage rate. So whenever you're taking credit card, you should know what is the APR of that credit card. So for example, if the APR or the annual percentage rate is 36% per annum, then the monthly percentage rate would be 36 by 12 or 3% per annum. So this is a significant factor if you have any pending bills or if you're not paying your bill in full, then you would be charged at a monthly rate of 3% per month. The second is a credit limit. Credit limit is the maximum amount that you can use for your credit card. So for example, if you have a credit limit of 1 lakh rupees, then 1 lakh rupees is the maximum amount that you can use in a credit card. The third is the cash limit. Cash limit is the limit that you can use your credit card to withdraw cash at an ATM. Generally, it's 20 to 40% of the credit limit. So if you have a credit card of let's say 1 lakh, then your cash limit would typically be from 20,000 to 40,000, but it could still be lower or it could also be higher. The fourth is called the total amount due. Whenever your credit card bill comes, the total amount that you need to pay is called as the total amount due or TAD. The next is the minimum amount due, which is called MAD. So if your total amount due, let's say, is 1 lakh, what is the minimum amount that you can pay so you do not incur any penalty or do not reduce your credit score? That amount is called as minimum amount due. In India, it's typically 5% of the total amount due. So if your bill is 1 lakh, then your minimum amount due would be 5,000. This minimum amount due percentage varies from country to country. In some countries, it could be higher. In some countries, it could be lower. Then there's something called as a grace period. Grace period is a period where you could pay your complete bill without incurring any interest or penalty from the credit card company. So it could be between 20 to 50 days depending upon the day of transaction. Also remember that credit card is basically revolving credit, because if you take a loan, you have to, once you get the loan, once you get the amount, you have to pay the EMI till that loan is getting closed, and you cannot reuse that loan again. However, if you have a credit card, it's a repay and reuse model. So you could use the amount, repay it back, and again reuse it. That's why it's called as a revolving credit. So friends, now let's look at the charges that are related to a credit card. The first is an APR or an annual percentage rate. In India, it could be anywhere from 12% to as high as 50%. The second would be joining fee. Once you get a credit card, there's a one-time charge which is called as a joining fee. Some banks may offer you a credit card without any joining fee also. The third one is an annual fee. So this is an amount which you need to pay to the bank that has issued the credit card annually, regardless of whether you are using the credit card or you are not using the credit card. There are companies which issue a credit card with zero annual fee also, but for premium cards, the annual fee could be pretty high as well. The fourth is cash advance fee. So these charges are incurred if that credit card is used for cash withdrawal. So if you approach an ATM and if you use your credit card to withdraw cash, then you incur this charge, which is called as a cash advance fee. The next one is called as a late payment fee. So if you miss your due date of payment and you pay after the last date, which is called the due date, then those kind of charges are called as late payment fees. And there's also called as over limit fee. So if you have a certain credit limit, so let's say if you have a limit of 1 lakh, and if you because of past interest or delayed in payments, if your credit card has balance has exceeded 1 lakh rupees, then you incur what you called as an over limit fees. So I would be making a separate video explaining these charges in detail with examples. So friends, let us try to understand the credit card statement with the help of an example. So let's say if you have a credit card and that bill generation is happening first of every month, then that bill generation date is also called as the statement date. This is the date when you receive your credit card bill. The due date, let us say, is 20th of every month. So this due date means that 20th of that month would be the last date of making that payment. So it is also called as the due date. You can make the payment in advance, but if you miss this date and if you pay at any date after 20th, you are going to incur interest as well as late payment fee. So let us understand with an example. So let us say on the 1st of June, you have not used your credit card at all and your bill amount is zero. Say on the 10th of June, you go to a mall and you do some shopping and you spend 10,000 rupees on the 10th of June. So your statement would come in the next month, which I said the 1st of every month. So your statement comes on the 1st of July and your due date is on the 20th of July. So if you look at this example, then your total amount due would be 10,000 rupees, assuming that this is the only transaction you did in the entire month. And your minimum amount due would be 5% of the total amount due, 10,000, which would be 500 rupees. So if you look at this, you get a certain grace period of 40 days. How do you get this 40 days? Because you made this transaction on 10,000, but you can pay this. So the transaction that you made on the 10th of June, you can pay it by 20th of July. So that's why you get a 40-day grace limit. However, if you had made the same transaction on, let's say, 25th of June, then you would have received a grace period of lesser than 40 days and that of 25 days. So the closer you are to the bill generation date, the lower time you get. The farther you are from the due date, the higher grace time you get. So friends, that's all in this video. In this video, I wanted to explain you the basics of a credit card, the numbering of a credit card, how the statement is generated. If you've liked this video, I request you to subscribe to my channel, comment on the video, like the video, share it with your friends. I'll be making a detailed video on how these interest charges are calculated, what are the different charges that are calculated in the future. So stay safe, take care, thank you.